Hi everyone. Again, my name is Cansu Ekmekcioglu. I go by she, her as pronouns, and I'm acknowledging that I'm living and working on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, Anishinaabe and Chippewa and Wendat people, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. I'm a doctoral candidate at the University of Toronto's Faculty of Information, and I'm researching on the use of data and technology in the settlement sector. I'm very delighted and privileged to be here with you today to share, collaborate, and learn. And thank you so much for the invite to Norquest and Marco, and they organized this fantastic event. So I'll talk about what data literacy is and why it is important for service organizations working with newcomers. I'm hoping to share information and inspiration around the topic of data literacy. So starting with data, when we talk about data, we often say data is everywhere, which is true. And maybe we may not be aware every day, but we are working with lots of data on a daily basis. For example, the number of clients you connect every month, how they evaluate your services or data. And we can also collect and record data about people, for example, unemployment rates or migration stats. And as well, observations of people interacting either online or in person can become data. So in a nutshell, we can understand data as pieces of information and facts collected for reference or analysis. And with social media and algorithms, we are actually becoming data points ourselves. What we do becomes data. The application we visit, the words we search for on Google, and all the likes and shares and retweets converted into corporate financial gain by big technology companies. And for sure, there is this asymmetry in data knowledge and skills between those institutions and the public, in the sense that the technical knowledge and the technological capacity required to do data work and analysis is disproportionately concentrated among companies and other power hubs and holders. And with data becoming an increasingly crucial part of our everyday lives and ourselves and our actions becoming data, being data literate is essential. And there are lots of definitions of data literacy, but I want to share the definition that I found useful and actionable from Dignazio and Bargava. And they say, data literacy is the ability to read, work with, analyze, and argue with data as part of a broader process of inquiry into the world. And data literacy really aims to drive meaningful information from data, which then supports us to better inform our decision making. And importantly, it's being about critical to how others collect, use, and interpret data, and really thinking through some of the criticalities of data protection. And for settlement service organization, I'm just going to summarize what we all know. The value of data is tremendous. Using data efficiently, you can improve operations, kind of the main thing, thinking about efficiency and measurements and trying to make sure the organization meet the strategic goals. You also identify the right stakeholders, spread messages, and communicate your values with them. And it also really brings the people together. I'm going to echo Catherine Dignazio here, who think of data as campfire, around which people can gather and try to understand what is going on, and asking really like, how can we do better in our team or in our organization? And last but not least, the settlement sector, I think we share this belief, has unique positioning to provide data literacy skills to diverse groups of communities they serve. And then the question, of course, is, okay, it's important, but how to operationalize data literacy skills in our organization? One very common way to do this is organizing workshops with more pedagogical orientations like lectures, and supporting it with hands-on activities. For example, social learning tools like data clinics, when people come and ask questions, share their methods. And there are also more like medium-term engagements, like weeks-long workshops and training, and then of course long-term efforts where people can follow particular fellowship programs or are assigned to practice in data research projects. And for sure, we have online resources, free online courses, for example, that could be something that you can integrate into your organization's data literacy journey. And there are lots of other ways as well, no one right solution. So you can customize it based on the organization's need and interests. So now I want to move on with some of the good practices of how nonprofits engage and benefit from data literacy for improving their design and implementation of their services. And one of the things data literacy adds to organization is really getting insights from data and using the data to enhance programs. One example that I really like is Crisis Line, which provides support to people in crisis via text messaging in many countries, including Canada. And their data is text. So they are using analysis to identify high-risk cases based on what and how people are texting to them, which then lets them respond more quickly and save more lives. And by looking at data creatively and critically, they found out that the clients who have texted about anxiety and stress also talk about relationship issues, depression, and sadness. So this is actually really useful and rich information because it opens the door for creating new programs and services that specifically targets relationship issues, for example. So data here really helps the organization how to prioritize services and do this through the evidence-based programming. Another powerful use case for community organizations is really embracing data-driven methods to identify meaningful stakeholders, right stakeholders, through social media data and to gather insights about the potential donors. And lots of organizations applying this to amplify their fundraising efforts. One interesting example from Pathways to Education, for example, I recently heard of, they're identifying their donors' giving patterns and sending really targeted advertising to them on a right time. And as I mentioned in the opening, nonprofits have also the upper hand in supporting clients' data literacy skills. And I brought this example from Belgium, a data literacy initiative called DataBus, organized by a local organization. And what this organization did, they converted this old bus into a mobile education lab. And NGO staff supports clients' data literacy skills. They, for example, provide resources on online privacy and protection of clients' data to various groups, including illiterate youth and adults in Belgium. And here is the couple of programs they did, for example, Bye Bye Bias or Corona and News. And these are very relevant, like hot topics. So, I mean, just to point out that this is an incredibly rich time for learning and teaching and engage in data literacy skills. And we can also engage in conversations in real life context. We have, for example, COVID-19 data, we have vaccination statistics, and we have like news reports about algorithmic bias coming everywhere. And I think also this really connects deeply with fighting against misinformation and disinformation in our societies, and really help communities have information to question and critically challenge the data presented to them and consumed by them. And also this is like showing there's a significant demand from communities as well. This survey published by Public Library Quarterly very recently is an interesting one, and it says they ask community members in Indiana response was saying that the type of workshops that help solving problems in my community. So this just like showing that people care, like people care, the data literacy resources and trainings and workshops. And just one more thing before wrap up, we can always think of like generating our own data through conducting primary research, of course, like collecting information, collect statistic, and also this can be very important from an advocacy standpoint, forming the narrative that really supports the rights-based activities from our communities. But like, I just want to highlight that super critical to such a practice is embracing ethical issues of data process, from the collection of it to preservation of it. And it brings up questions of like data access, who can access those data, and what kind of stories does the data tell, or what kind of narratives it brings, or what kind of narratives does it erase. And I think it's really important to note that marginalized and underrepresented communities have really had a long history of data being taken out of and not being like sharing with them or being used for initiatives that don't benefit them. So creating more like negative implication. So really like being intentional, being ethical and thoughtful, even before planning of any data collection effort is really, really important. So with that, I want to thank you all for listening to me, and I'm hopefully will engage in Q&A with you. Thank you so much.